if it wasn't already time to before, now is the time to really focus. Focus on your life, your goals, staying on a righteous path. Eliminating whatever is holding you back. You know, I can't count how many times I've mentioned this just on these videos, but there are patterns of behavior. There are patterns in general in this reality that we come across. And a lot of the time, we find ourselves repeating these patterns that are bad for us, that are harmful, that we complain about, that we don't like. And you must be aware of that, because one thing I've noticed is that, you know, certain programs will do anything in their power to keep those patterns continuing, to keep you in a loop. They'll make it seem like you can't get out of it. You got to do it for security reasons, that, you know, you're just stuck. And, you know, what these patterns do is, like, it keeps you stagnant. It withholds you, it restricts you from something different, something that can be better for you. We create a lot of our own patterns as well. We do it to ourselves. Not everything is inflicted upon us, what we do personally, but a lot of it is. And a lot. I'm on the street right now. It's like you gotta look out for cars and stuff, but there's things that you don't have control over, and there are things that you can change. Over time, you can make a lot more change than you realize. If there's something that's just not good within the environment, how many times have I talked about the spiritual attacks? There are physical attacks that happen to many of us as well, but how many times have I mentioned spiritual attacks? The lighting, the food, the water, the air that you breathe, the people that you're around that are sick. You know, these frequencies, radio waves, and too much microwave exposure. How many times have I mentioned the effect that this has on you? You really got to push yourself and get out of these environments. You really got to push yourself and focus harder. Now more than ever. If it wasn't already time to before, now is that time. I don't know about you all, but I'm pretty mad, pretty upset. I'm pretty furious about how things have just happened, how things have, you know, the real question is, how are you going to respond? How am I going to respond when things don't go my way? When I find patterns that continue to trigger me, these patterns that continue to show up, how do you respond to that? How do I respond to that? I still ask myself that question. Because life will continue to trigger you, and you'll continue to find yourself in this pattern until you create that spark where you realize, I can't fucking deal with this anymore. I'm not going to be that victim. I'm not going to continue this pattern, accepting it. I'm not going to be on this righteous path for a few days or a few weeks and then just stop. You know, when do you realize it's like, no, this got to be years. This has got to be decades. It's got to be a lifestyle, and it has to be permanent. When does that click? When does that click within you? When does that click within me? Over time, when you just become fed up and fed up and fed up over time, where things happen, it gets to a point where you got to push harder. You got to be more volatile. Whatever attacks coming to you, whatever is happening in your life and your circumstances that you do not like, that are just continuing to bother you, When do you make that extra step and push back? Sometimes it requires confrontation with the people in your environment, with circumstances, with your own actions yourself. How are you going to act harder? How are you going to act more diligently? How are you going to act more consistently to being on that righteous path and doing what you got to do? It doesn't just go for me, it goes for many of you. It goes for many of us. That's why I'm making this video. I definitely relate to it. I'm speaking on it. I found myself in constant struggles, constant failures. Where I ask, like, am I just going to keep failing? Am I just going to keep being within this pattern? Keep putting my head down and accepting defeat? How do I break that pattern? There's got to be more diligence. There's got to be more determination. There's got to be more discipline over time. It can't just happen for a few days. It can't just happen for a few weeks. This is something that must be a lifestyle. When does that click? If I am able to make that consistent change and my life becomes drastically better the next 2 years, while many of you continue to repeat those patterns, maybe you could look at this video and you can look at me, my life, where I did fail, where I didn't get what I wanted. And I'm an example that if you continue to be disciplined over time and you're serious about it, then that change can happen. But it must come from you. It must come from me. I know I'm repeating myself, but it doesn't matter, because you must have that affirmation. You must speak it into reality. You must take those actions necessary. It's all critical. Things aren't the same as when you were a little kid, when everything, you didn't really have to do much. You didn't have to have that extra responsibility. But then when you do have that extra responsibility and life throws obstacles at you and you fail and you realize, why is this happening to me? Why are these people achieving this? Why do I continue to fail? You ask yourself these questions, and eventually it's got to trigger you into being more determined, more disciplined, more of all of that. More determined to cut out all of the cancer, the toxic energy, the terrible habits. All of that. It's got to go. It just does. There's no way around it. There's no way around it. You see, it's like 95 degrees out here. And when you take care of yourself, you can walk out in the sun. You can walk out in the heat. And there's no problem. Take care of yourself. Be disciplined. Care about yourself enough to be determined, like I said. Be tenacious about your goals, but don't do it for a few days. It can't be temporary. Care about yourself to do it over a long period of time. Make it a lifestyle. Permanently put everything to an end that's holding you back. The way it's got to be.